Hello guys, welcome to my channel. This is the second tutorial in this course, and in this tutorial we are going to talk about DBMS and relational database management systems, and we're also going to see how we can download and install MySQL in our systems, right? So a database management system, or DBMS, as I said in the last tutorial, is a software through which we execute SQL queries, and it's an interface between us and the database. So whatever you have to do with the database, if you want to create database objects like tables and views and those kind of things, or if you want to store data in your databases, or if you want to delete data from your databases, or edit data, then all of that has to be done through SQL, right? And there are lots of different vendors for database management systems in the market. You have Oracle Corporation, you have Microsoft, and then MySQL is also now managed by Oracle, but it was manufactured by some other company. And IBM has got its database management system too. So there are lots and lots of different database management systems available. And the one that we're going to use throughout in this course is MySQL. And we're going to talk about MySQL too. But for the time being, just know that there are lots of different tools with which you can learn SQL and with which you can work. And although we're going to use MySQL, but I would recommend after you finish this course, you can download other systems and practice SQL queries on those systems as well, and also check out the functions that are specific to those functions. And we're going to talk more about this later on. Next, we need to know what an RDBMS is, and an RDBMS is a relational database management system, and it's based on the relational model, which was developed in the 70s, I guess. And in a relational model, data is organized in tables, and there are a lot of other models, like you have the network model or the hierarchical model for data organization. But in an RDBMS, you use a relational model, and a table, as you guys know, is a structure that contains rows and columns, and at the intersection of rows and columns, you store your data, right? So you can think of a table as an Excel sheet. So just as in an Excel sheet, you have a bunch of rows and bunch of columns, and wherever the rows and columns intersect, those are the places where you can put in your data. So a table is just that. It's nothing more than that or different than that. And we're going to talk more about table, and particularly the SQL jargon, like what a field is and what a record is and those kind of things later on. But for the time being, just know that a table is a structure in which data is stored in a database. If you're working with an RDBMS, then that is the sort of fundamental unit of storage, right? And next, we are going to talk about what MySQL is, and it's a database management system that was developed in 1994 by some Swedish company, and I forgot the name. What was it? I guess it was AB. I'm not sure, but you can check. And it's an open source database management system. You can use it for free, right? And the version that we're gonna learn to install in this tutorial, we're gonna learn to install the free version. And there's also an enterprise edition available. So if you guys are thinking about using it in your organization, then you might have to download and install the enterprise edition. You can also call the guys at MySQL, and they might help you, give you a little bit of support and technical assistance in installing it on all machines in your organization. But we're not going to talk about that here. And some of the features of MySQL are that it runs on various platforms, and it's really easy to use, and it keeps your data safe and secure, and it offers great performance results. So it's one of the best database management systems, if not the best. And I, for some reason, like Oracle more, maybe because it offers more functions. But MySQL is also pretty cool, and I guess it's also the most widely used DBMS in the world. So that makes it even more special. So next, we are going to see how we can download MySQL and how we can install it. So to download MySQL, you'll have to obviously use a web browser, right? So I'm going to make a Google search. I'm going to search for MySQL download, and press the enter key. And you have to follow the first link that pops on your screen, and you click on that, and you'll be redirected to the MySQL page and the download section here. And you see a lot of products here, like you see the MySQL Enterprise Edition and the Cluster Edition and this and that. But the one that we are interested in is the MySQL installer for Windows, right? So if you're working with a Windows machine, this is what you need. And if you're working with Mac or Linux, then Maybe I'm going to discuss instructions to install MySQL on those platforms later on, but for the time being, we're going to see how we can install this thing on Windows, right? So the setup that you should be interested in, you can locate it in the left panel here, and we have to download the MySQL installer for Windows. If you don't want to select it from here, then you can scroll down all the way to the bottom of the page, and you would see MySQL installer here too, right? So this is what you want, and you click on it, right? And it tells you that you can use this installer to install all of these. You can use it to install MySQL Server, and connectors, and MySQL for Excel, which is a plugin, and MySQL for Visual Studio. So if you want to create .NET applications using MySQL at the backend, then you can install this thing, and sample databases, which we're going to use in this course, and the Workbench GUI tool for MySQL Server. So there are a lot of things that this installer is going to allow us to install, and we can install these items individually as well. We're not going to use all of them, but we're going to use quite a lot of them, and you also have documentation bundled in this. But it'll be better if we install all of these, because maybe not now, but in future we might use connectors, or even Notifier or MySQL for Excel too. So just download the setup that's there at the bottom, right? So you select the version that you have to install, and then just click on download, and it's going to download it for you. And I've already downloaded this, so I'm not going to download it again, and I'll just show you how to install it once the download is complete, right? So I'll minimize this, and in the downloads directory I have this setup file, the one that I just got, and I've installed the installer too, right? So now I'm going to install MySQL products using the installer. So let me execute this file. So the setup is going to ask you to give it permissions to make changes to your system, and after you click run and okay maybe 500 times, you're going to see this window in which you have to select the option install MySQL products, right? So you click on this, and then it's going to ask you to make a couple of checks, and you have to make these checks by clicking on the execute button here. So it's going to first connect to the internet. It's going to see whether you have a good internet connection or not, and then it's going to fetch some product update information, right? So you click on execute, right, and it's going to check. This might take a little bit of time. So it is verified that we are connected to the internet, and it's also checked for update information, which wasn't really required, but it still made the check. And then we're going to get to the second option, which is choosing a set of type. And there are lots of options that you have. So you can either go for server alone, which is just going to install the MySQL server and nothing else. You won't have Workbench or anything. And then there is this full option, which we're going to check. Then you have custom, in which you can select one of the several tools that we saw on the MySQL page, right? So I would recommend that you install the full version, because it's going to contain all the things like the server and the Workbench and connectors and documentations and all of that. So after you've selected the full option, click on next, and then it's going to check whether you satisfy, or your system satisfies, all the requirements for the database to be installed, right? And to make the check, you have to click on execute again, and there you go. You see that I have all these green check marks, which means that I satisfy all the requirements, and I can click on next now. And in case your system is not updated, or if it doesn't satisfy any requirement, then this setup, this installation thing, wizard is actually going to install those things, and it's going to ask for your permission if you want to make those changes, if you want to install the things that are required for this installation to proceed or not. So if you give it permission, then it's going to move ahead with the installation, right? And then you have to click on execute again, because it's again asking you if you want to install all these things or not, and we want it, so we're going to click on execute, and then all these items would be installed one by one. So SQL Server is being installed right now, and then you see that after this is installed, the Workbench would be installed, and so on and so forth. All products would be installed. So once all these items are installed, you can click on next. When you click on next, it's going to configure the server and also the samples and databases when you click on next again. And then it's going to ask you what type of configuration do you want the installation to proceed with. So if you are not using anything else on the system, which is pretty unlikely, then you can select the dedicated machine option. But if you are going to use other applications as well, then you should select the development option, which is not going to give all your system's memory to the MySQL server, right? And make sure that the port number here is 3306, that's 3306. And then if these options are selected, then you can click on next. And then it's going to ask you for MySQL root password, right? And you can type in anything that you remember, because if you forget this, then you'll be in big trouble. So I'm just going to put in my name, and you can put in anything that you want. And one more thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add a user, and to do that you have to click on the add user button here in the bottom right section, and then you can give the user a username. So I'm going to call it self, and I'll also give a password for that. And you can also select roles and privileges for this user, like whether you want it to be the admin, or if you want it to be the instance manager, or the DB designer, or whatever. But we are gonna let it do everything. So for that, you have to give it the role of DB admin, right? And then you can click on OK. So user would be created, and then you can click on next. And this is going to ask you whether you want the MySQL server service to start up when the operating system is powered on, and that's not actually a bad idea, so you can proceed with that. And then you click on next, and it's going to configure your product, and this might take a few seconds. So there we go, we see that the configuration is complete, and I'll click on next to complete the configuration for samples and examples too, and the configuration for that is complete too. So when I click on next now, I see that the installation is complete, and I can start my SQL Workbench, which is the GUI tool to access the server. So when I click on the finish button, a new window opens up, and in this window I see the workbench, right? So this is what it looks like. This is the MySQL workbench, and we're going to work with this throughout in this course, and you can do loads of different things, like create new connections or edit SQL scripts, and we're going to check out all the features of this tool, and it's going to be real fun learning this. And that's it for now, and I hope I didn't bore you guys. I'm going to see you in the next tutorial, in which we'll talk about some other DBMS concepts maybe. And thank you so much for watching this tutorial. Please subscribe to my channel in case you haven't already, and I'll see you soon.